Welcome back to another explainer. Today, we're diving headfirst into the absolutely massive 100,000-year cosmic history of the Halo universe. Now, if you think you know the story of Master Chief, well, you might literally just be scratching the surface. We're going to trace the biggest revelations, the darkest betrayals, and the hidden lore that completely redefines everything we thought we knew about this iconic franchise. Let's get right into it. So here's our roadmap for this explainer. We'll start way back with ancient gods and monsters, power through the human covenant war and the truth about Halo, before tackling the rise of the Banished, and wrapping up with the new galactic threats. Part 1, Ancient Gods and Monsters and the Origins of the Cosmos. To truly grasp the stakes here, we have to start our story long before Master Chief was even a thought. We need to look at the ancient architects of the galaxy, and honestly, their most terrifying secrets. It's totally wild to think about, but way back in 150,000 BCE, humanity was actually a highly advanced, spacefaring species. This is millennia before the events of the games. We were out there existing right alongside the Forerunners as massive galactic rivals. Thinking about that huge stretch of time really grounds the sheer scale of the universe we're dealing with before we jump into the dizzying stuff. Now, the absolutely crucial point driving all of this history is something called the Mantle of Responsibility. Basically, it's the supreme authority to supervise and guard all life in the Milky Way. It was created by an even older, godlike race known as the Precursors. The Forerunners, well, they firmly believed they were destined to inherit this mantle. But the Precursors actually judged them unworthy. And get this, they decided to pass the mantle on to humanity instead. When the Forerunners found out, they completely snapped. They retaliated by hunting down and purging their own creators, literally driving the Precursors to the edge of extinction. And that leads to one of the wildest twists in all of gaming. For years, fans just assumed the parasitic flood was this horrifying cosmic mishap, like a space plague. But the lore reveals a much darker truth. They are actually the vengeful, corrupted remains of those murdered precursors. The flood isn't some mindless disease. It's a highly intelligent, calculating revenge plot by the universe's oldest gods, designed entirely to consume the Forerunners who betrayed them. So unable to win a conventional war against a foe that literally consumes everything it touches, the Forerunners realized they had to completely eradicate the flood's food source. They enacted a desperate four-step plan. Step 1, they built the Halo Array. This was a network of massive superweapons designed not to kill the flood directly, but to wipe out all sentient life in the galaxy, effectively starving the parasite. Step 2, they preserved seeds of various species. Step 3, they pulled the trigger and fired the rings in 97,445 BCE. And finally, Step 4, they reseeded the galaxy, completely burying their dark history in the process. Moving on to Part 2, the Human Covenant War, entering the 26th century. So we fast forward thousands of years. Humanity has had to re-evolve entirely from scratch, completely and utterly unaware of this ancient cosmic drama. But now they face a brand new, terrifying threat. The year 2525 is when humanity makes its disastrous first contact on the planet Harvest, sparking a brutal, decades-long war with the alien covenant. But you want to know the most tragic irony of it all? This entire conflict was rooted in a massive lie. It was a deliberate mistranslation of ancient Forerunner texts by the Covenant prophets. See, the prophets secretly realized that humans were actually the true heirs to the Forerunner legacy, and they covered it up to maintain their own power. During this war, humanity was losing, and losing badly. We were saved only by the legendary Spartan super soldiers. But the grim reality of the Spartan 2 program, which includes Master Chief himself, is that they weren't originally designed to fight aliens at all. The Office of Naval Intelligence, under Dr. Catherine Halsey, secretly kidnapped children at just 6 years old. They actually replaced them with rapidly dying clones just to hide the crime, and then brutally trained these kids to fight human insurrectionists. The fact that these child soldiers inadvertently ended up saving humanity from the Covenant is just one of the universe's grimmest ironies. And that brings us to Part 3, the truth about Halo and the Great Schism. We're now in the pivotal year of 2052, which is arguably the most important 4-month window in the entire timeline. This is where absolutely everything the Covenant believed is turned completely upside down. Up to this point, the Covenant fully believed that activating the Halo rings would trigger something they called the Great Journey. They thought it would elevate them to a higher divine existence, exactly like they assumed the Forerunners had done. But the horrifying, extinction-level reality that Master Chief uncovered was so much darker. Halo wasn't a path to godhood. It was a galactic suicide weapon. It was literally a sterilization protocol to starve the Flood. Once it's realized that the Halo array is actually a massive suicide note, that truth begins to spread like wildfire. The Sangheili, the elites, discover that their entire religion is built on a lie manipulated by the prophets, and it sparks an immediate, hyper-violent rebellion. The elites turn against the prophets and their new enforcers, the Brutes, triggering a galaxy-altering civil war known as the Great Schism. Honestly, this internal collapse is exactly what allows humanity to survive the war at all. Which leads us right into part 4, Rise of the Banished, a new kind of enemy. Because, well, peace is never quite that simple, is it? Right from the ashes of the Covenant's collapse, a new and arguably way more dangerous faction emerges onto the galactic stage. The contrast between these two factions is night and day. Where the old Covenant was defined by religious fanaticism, strict codes of honor, and this really oppressive caste system, the Banished are totally different. They are a brutal, highly pragmatic confederation of pirates and raiders operating on pure meritocracy. It's simple. If you can fight, plunder, and prove your worth, you have a place with them, completely regardless of your species. The entire philosophy of the Banished is captured perfectly in an incredible quote by their founder, the brute warmaster Atriox. He basically says, "I can offer no honor, for it holds no weight beyond sentiment." You see, Atriox actually rebelled against the Covenant long before its collapse, mostly because he was just sick and tired of his brothers being used as cannon fodder for a lie. He completely rejects the whole concept of honor in favor of raw results, survival, and pure free will. And because of that extreme pragmatism, Atriox managed to unite an incredible diversity of species into his mercenary organization. We're talking ranks that include brutes, elite mercenaries who are willingly fighting alongside their former rivals, and even grunts who can actually rise up the chain of command if they prove themselves. Astonishingly, they even recruit human criminals and rebel groups. The Banished are smart. They recognize that humans are uniquely useful for accessing Forerunner technology. It makes them an incredibly adaptable and terrifyingly efficient war machine. Finally, Part 5, New Galactic Threats and the Modern State of the Galaxy. Let's wrap up our timeline by looking at this post-war era, where the galactic chessboard has been completely reset. In a truly tragic turn of events that strikes right at the emotional heart of the whole series, the artificial intelligence Cortana actually survives what we all thought was her death. But she returns fundamentally changed. Believing that advanced AI are the only ones who can enforce lasting peace, she steps up and claims that ancient concept we talked about earlier, the mantle of responsibility. Cortana essentially becomes a dictator, completely subjugating the galaxy using enormous Forerunner constructs known as Guardians. This forces former allies and old enemies alike to just scatter and run for cover. Meanwhile, the Banished see a massive opportunity in all this chaos. They successfully conquer Zeta Halo, which is easily one of the most mysterious installations in the entire array. Following a crushing defeat that leaves the human forces totally decimated, Master Chief finds himself stranded on this ring. Stripped of his usual vast military support, he's forced to fight a really gritty, uphill guerrilla war against the Banished and their new leader on the ring, Asharum. But the final revelation on Zeta Halo introduces something called the Endless. They are this deeply mysterious ancient civilization that was actually imprisoned by the Forerunners eons ago. Based on the deep lore we've dug up, they appear to be a multi-species collective of re-evolving precursor life. And that leaves us with one massive, genuinely haunting question to end on. What exactly happens when the universe's oldest, most terrifying gods, the very same beings who created the Flood, begin to re-evolve and seek the mantle of responsibility all over again?